This is episode 44. My name is Mandy, and today we are speaking with Michael Thaler, horticultural research scientist for the Growcer, a modular hydroponic farming company helping communities across Canada grow food locally. Before arriving in Ottawa, Michael's expertise in plant physiology and biochemistry led him to work as a scientist in labs and nurseries across several different countries in Europe. Now, Michael's research in hydroponics, a form of soil-free growing, helps evolve farming techniques that are more space and resource efficient. Welcome, Michael. We have 5 questions for you. What climate problem keeps you up at night?
Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here and answer a couple of questions for you. Yeah, there are like a couple of things that keep me up at night, especially as a scientist. It's quite tricky to have a positive outlook on climate change we are having right now. But of the most pressing things I am concerned right now is probably the lack of drinking water, which is a problem we will face fairly soon, because it is expected that by 2025, 2/3 of the world population will already have troubles having access to drinking water. And with our current agricultural techniques, by 2050, we will have to double our production to be able to feed our world population. So things need to change.
What is the solution?
Several solutions. It's not like as bleak as we might think. We got it in our hands, basically. Like there's several groups of people who can do something about like this pressing issue. The first is like us. We as consumers have it on our hands basically to shape the future we want. And our dollar has power, right? Like, and if enough people are ignoring companies, for example, which have really bad practices, which are reflecting on the destruction on environment, and rather go for environmentally friendly companies, that can already make a lot of change. Then the next group would be the government, and not only because it's easy to target the government, but also because the government has just a very, very broad reach and is able to make big changes very, very quickly. And combined with that, also the agricultural sector, the farmers, they have to be supported better by the government, and it has to improve the techniques they are using, because a lot of water is wasted on the fields right now.
What's in the way?
There are quite a lot of things in the way, and to reduce a little bit of blame to us as consumers, there's actually a really interesting book being written, which states that the title is "We are hardwired to ignore climate change and all the aspects of it," because our species, we as humans, are trimmed towards focusing on things that are in the immediate timeline that are affecting us. Climate change is something that is like bit by bit over years or over ages before it really has an effect. It starts to have an effect, but the effects are still quite small. So we tend more to ignore it. But what also stands in the way is how governments are treating companies, which I already mentioned before, that are not treating our environment ethically, our drinking water ethically. The big problem there is that the fines right now for finding out that a company did something bad are so tiny compared to the money they're saving with using those unethical practices, that in the end, they don't care of those fines and will just continue doing negative things for our future and environment. And the third thing, the agricultural sector, farmers, for example, most of them are working right now out of debt. They're aware that there are better techniques out out there. They're aware that they could modernize what they're having, but the money they're getting from the government to modernize, to reduce the drinking water needed to grow their plants is just too little. It won't go over the debt trap they're having right now. So they're just forced to continue and hopefully hope that prices will get better for their produce. And at the same time, also in the agricultural business, modern techniques like what we are doing at the Growcer, working in hydroponics, which only uses 10% of the water that is used usually in agriculture. So way, way more efficient for drinking water, is still not supported financially well enough to really make like a big change. And yeah, in my company, we're really working hard on making all year round food production over hydroponic systems possible. Feed people while still saving on drinking water.
How can people help?
There are a couple of things people can do to help. It's also, like I already mentioned, it's tricky to get to wrap your head around that things need to change because it's not that immediate, right? Like you open your tap water comes out, you can drink it. Like, why would you worry about drinking water? But this is not the case everywhere in this world. And just for the whole pressure on our environment, for example, car fumes, car gases, where Canada is actually emission-wise worse than the States. One thing coming out of this pandemic is probably make like driving together, like make carpools, having 3-4 people in your car, which will save a lot of like emissions, and then in the end will make our source water cleaner, things like that. But I think everybody needs to have a situation in their life where it becomes obvious for them that change needs to happen. In my case, that was around 7 years ago. A childhood area, like where I used to go, like as a kid, pretty much every day after school or on the weekend, all day long, was this little protected nature reserve, which had like tons of rare species and animals, plants. It was a bit of a wetland, so really, really diverse and interesting. And that is also the reason why I became a biologist, because I was just so fascinated by this really beautiful network of things interacting with each other, that it's like such a sophisticated system, which we don't know very much about still today. And the decision being made by my hometown to reduce the time people need to get to and off of work by 10 minutes. The solution for that was to build a bridge through that natural reserve. And that made it blatantly obvious for me that our government does not really care much about keeping those incredible, valuable pockets of life in this world, and made me make drastic changes in which products I buy, like which company I support with my money. I rather walk somewhere than taking the car. Like whenever I can, I'm trying to like give a little bit back to nature, which gave me so much, and try to help improve a little bit that situation we're having.
What is the good future?
Yeah, there is a good future. Like, and with me saying that it's tough to see positively like what we are going through right now with climate change. There is already lots of stuff happening. I see in this world, like the cleaning up of beaches, which is happening, like goes viral on Instagram, like people just like doing really good work. The innovations of cleaning the oceans, where that little shuttle is going through, collecting all the garbage, all the plastic. Like there are innovations out there right now. There are people really engaged in making changes. And the good future for me is that those people just get a bigger lobby, that they get more support from us, from their respective governments, from organizations to hone those skills to make more people aware of where the issues are. And yeah, actually the dream is of a good future that at one point I will be able to show my children those pockets of life, like the where I grew up in, that little piece of forest, that they can take pretty much the same out of it, that they have an appreciation of nature and not just see it as a resource.
Thanks again for joining us today. Before we sign off, we have asked our guests to share one less interesting Enviro fact to ponder, and here's what Michael wanted you to know. According to the WWF, by 2025, it's expected that 2/3 of the world population will experience water shortages, hence the need for hydroponics, which require only about 10% of the water used in traditional farming. Thanks again for joining us, Michael. This was EnviroCentre's Green Room.